Hey, I'm Sara Gonzales. Welcome to the news and why it matters. We have a great lineup today. We've got Mr. Pat Gray in.
Yay!
The one and only. And we've got Jeffy Fisher chewing the fat.
Yeah.
Find it anywhere you find your podcast.
Yay.
And Jason Buttrill. So,
Yay.
fabulous Friday lineup. All right, Pat, what's the top story for you?
I'm going to talk about the war on Christmas, I believe.
Okay. All right, Jeffy.
I want to talk about the funeral of H.W. How much is it costing it? I know it was beautiful and it was, 5 or 6 days, felt like 30, and it was wonderful, but I'd just like to know how much that's costs and who's paying for it.
I love that because I had not even considered it, had not even crossed my mind, so I can't wait to hear about that. Jason.
You don't have to go to the movies this weekend. If you like catastrophe movies, action movies, crazy movies, all you need to do is watch what's going on in Paris. It's going to be lit.
Lit AF. All right. Before we get into all of that, I want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. I was in a car accident in 2013, messed up a bunch of discs in my spine, and I lived several years with just in constant pain. And then, you have kids and you got to carry the kids around and it just gets worse and worse and worse. I tried acupuncture, I tried massages, I tried everything, you name it, and nothing would help. I started taking Relief Factor after I joined this crew, and it's the only thing that I've found that's actually helped with my pain. Jason, I know that you've got knee pain from being who you are, former military. And you've found good results with Relief Factor as well.
Yes, if you're a veteran, you've gone through some of the same things. We've been through Afghanistan, Iraq, all that stuff. You will, if you try this, a lot of those like shoulder injuries and knee injuries will go away.
Do you take Relief Factor?
I don't.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Jeffy?
I have, yes, and it worked when I was taking it, and then for some reason I just decided that I didn't need to take it anymore, and I probably
you regret that, right?
I do regret it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do.
All right. Well, you got to get back on the bandwagon. You can go to relieffactor.com, get your 3-week quick start pack for $19.95, or you can call the number at the bottom of your screen. That is relieffactor.com. It works for like 80% of the people who try it, and then they go on to keep buying it. So the odds are in your favor. Relieffactor.com. Pat, the war on Christmas.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day, it seems like the war on Christmas isn't as big a deal this year, and then all of a sudden we got hit with all of this stuff this week.
You jinxed us.
Yeah, I guess so. I shouldn't have had that thought. I got to stop thinking. But there's a Nebraska principal who decided that she was going to ban all Christmas-related items. You couldn't have trees, you couldn't have angels up, you couldn't do anything with Santa Claus. She banned Elf on a Shelf. There's nothing more religious and Christian than Elf on a Shelf. Is there?
That's a great point.
I mean, oh man, the tender spiritual times I've had with elves on the shelves. It's been pretty amazing.
Gospel of Luke, I'm pretty sure the Elf on the Shelf is all through that.
It's in Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, Elf on a Shelf, maybe the most Christian of all symbols. It got so bad, she banned the colors red and white.
No.
Yeah, because, red and green. Red and green, because they're Christmas colors. I mean,
it seems a little far.
It seems a tad overboard.
Yeah, a little.
Wow.
The amazing thing in this case was her school board disagreed. And they said, no, those things aren't banned. And she said, well, I just banned it because where I come from, you can't do this on public property. Where do you come from? Iran?
Right.
Saudi Arabia? I mean, it's
also,
ludicrous.
You can't wear red and green on public property.
Silly, right?
So what was allowed?
Almost nothing. You could talk about winter displays. You could have snowflakes and snowmen and snow women and snow people.
So you could acknowledge that it was cold outside, but not Christmas.
You can acknowledge
But don't sing the song, Baby, It's Cold Outside.
No.
You get in trouble for that, too.
Wintry precipitation was okay.
So bad.
She actually is on paid administrative leave now because the parents were so upset. And at least in this case, something was done about it that makes sense.
Still paying her, though.
Yeah.
They are still paying her.
Don't love that.
Then we've got a bunch of leftists we have one leftist in a Michigan town who was upset with a display that has been going back since the 1940s at a school where they just put the 3 wise men up on top of the roof on camels. So you got the 3 wise men on camels, and that was too Christian for this one person. And so they had to take it down.
One person.
One person.
The minority of 1 to 2 people causing the majority to change has got to stop.
It's agonizing. Since when are we ruled by minority? We're not. I mean,
we are now.
We are now.
Special
Yes, we
interest
are.
groups rule
We
the
just
world.
absolutely are now. So,
And since the 1940s, how many people have been triggered by that display?
it could be up to 2 or 3.
Right.
In 70 years, it could be 2 or 3 by now.
So
You can't have that.
no,
You can't have
take that thing down.
Yeah, and they did. Because there's nothing more Christian than wise people, right?
Yeah.
If somebody is wise,
They're Christian.
they're Christian.
Yeah.
They're obviously Christian. It's just another symbol that they've gotten banned. That you can't have Christian symbols on private property and should be removed, and so they did. And the Constitution does not state that. I don't know if anybody's aware of the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, but it's Congress shall make no law establishing a religion nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof. It's not that hard. It doesn't say you can't have displays of religiosity. It doesn't even say you can't favor one religion over another. It just says you can't establish through law a state religion.
Which we can't favor anyway. I mean, there's state buildings all over the country now that is because they have had nativity scenes. Now they have to have satanic displays.
Illinois State Capitol is one really good
amazing.
example of that. They have a satanic symbol up next to their Christmas tree and menorah because they think they have to give a Satanist equal treatment.
It's
don't.
a cool statue. It's a hand with a snake going around it. It's really. I mean, it says
me feel
Christmas.
warm and fuzzy.
It does.
It is.
It does.
Then, maybe the worst of all, it is the worst of all, a Minnesota State University psychology professor and sex therapist. I want my professors to double as sex therapists.
Just in case, you never know when you might need it.
Just in case. He has decided that the Virgin Mary did not give consent to the Lord to be impregnated.
Stop.
And
Hashtag Me Too.
hashtag
baby.
Me Too moment for the Virgin Mary.
Yes.
He says the virgin birth story is about an all-knowing, all-powerful deity impregnating a human teen. There is no definition of consent that would include that scenario. Happy holidays.
Has he read?
Happy holiday.
Did he actually read the Bible?
Oh my
Or was it just like a crazy? Because the Mary does give consent.
She absolutely does. She said, "Be it unto me as
Because
Would you
Right.
find it terribly shocking to hear that he had not actually read the Bible?
No. But still, I mean, that's pretty blatant. Like your entire point is completely blown out of the water if you read 2 lines down.
You might think that, Jason, but
Yeah,
no.
No, you'd be wrong.
But no.
Because the only way she gave
he
consent
explains
was-
it in the power dynamic.
Thank you.
She could not give consent because she's a teenager, and then you have the all-powerful
And
deity.
he's God.
Yeah.
So there's no.
It doesn't get more powerful than
The
that.
power dynamic disallows her to give consent.
No one can say no.
Is that amazing?
stupid.
I mean, you talk about blaspheming, and it's just interesting how these people must attack on a regular basis. They can't just be happy in their own atheism or whatever it is they are. They've got to continually attack and try to degrade and besmirch, and they're not happy unless they're doing that.
Right.
Man, so many things to say about this. I mean, it's crazy to me, like especially here in America, that there are record low attendance numbers for churchgoers.
church. Yeah.
And really, but only here in America. Like everywhere else in the world, it's exploding. So many other places, especially when where there's a lot of persecution, where there's a lot of like just hardship. The church numbers are skyrocketing, and I personally think it's because here we're making an effort not to show the good that Christians do. Like we're not pointing that out. Everywhere I've traveled, over the past few years of working here, everywhere where there's something really crazy going on, whether it's Iraq, whether it's who knows where, the church is always leading the way, feeding people, helping people, and it's not hidden. Like the people know that, but we don't know that here.
Yeah.
I tell you, the church is doing far more for homeless, for people that are hungry. Pick any other like huge calamitous issue that people say that the government should be taking the lead on. They don't really have to because the church is doing it. They're just not showing it. And this is what we get when people can like so blatantly attack the church, attack Christmas, attack God. I mean, I'm sorry. I'll stop ranting.
And it's really the last safe space for attacking somebody based on religion. If there's white men, you can still attack, and Christians, you can still attack with impunity, and it doesn't matter to anybody. And we, to our discredit, I think Christians remain silent when we shouldn't. We need to stand up to this nonsense.
Absolutely, stand up.
I mean, I don't disagree with that, but we've also tried to make the churches seem all-inclusive, and we want everyone to feel welcome, and we want everyone to... I read an interview from a Catholic priest who said he's an independent thinker with an open mind. I mean, if you're a priest, you're supposed to walk the priest line. If you're a preacher or a minister or a rabbi, whatever it is, that's your line to walk. You're supposed to preach that, and that's what we believe in, right? But it's not it's okay to be, we want everyone welcome.
Yeah, the law is not relative to a man of faith. You know what I'm saying? It's not relative to whatever is popular at the time. It's pretty black and white.
Right. They're eternal principles, or are supposed to be, and they don't change just because it's 2018.
Right.
It's amazing.
In this case, really quickly, I just want to touch on, in this last case that you mentioned, I understand that it happens all the time now, but these are the people who are teaching the next generation.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Who are supposed to come out and lead the country.
Right.
I don't understand how that happens if they're being taught things like this.
We let it happen. I mean, we let it happen over the years. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and now we're so beaten down with it.
Right.
It's just part of the culture now.
Yeah. All right, let's get to HW's funeral when we come back. Before we move on, I want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. You know what? I think we're going to talk later about what's going on in France. And there's a lot of crazy stuff going on over there around the world. You've got hurricanes. You've got all sorts of natural disasters. Point is, you never know what's going to happen in your country that you need to be prepared for some sort of emergency food supply. Because it's not only natural disasters, but it's also government. And the way we're headed, you really never know with today's government. So we always recommend, I'm not much of a prepper, but I have been convinced that you need at least 2 to 3 weeks of emergency food supply. I'm not saying go out and be like Glenn and get God knows how many years of food supply. I'm just saying you need a couple weeks, just in case. You got to get in the car, you got to throw it in, you got to go. You got to have just enough to get you by, get you and your family by. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. It's delicious, it tastes great, it has a 25-year shelf life. And it comes in these little totes that are perfect for when you got to throw it in the car and go. You never know when you're going to need it, and when you need it, it's got to be there. You've already got to have it. You can go to preparewithnews.com, get 2 weeks of emergency food supply that includes breakfast, lunch, and dinner for $75. That's a no-brainer. You can go out to eat with your family and spend way more money than that. And this gives you the 2 weeks that you need, just in case it's there when you need it. Go to preparewithnews.com. Jeffy, HW's funeral.
I just want to,
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. Do I need to call you Jeff on this show? You're wearing a fancy jacket.
Call me whatever.
And I just feel, okay.
Call me whatever you want. It's fine.
Mr. Jeff
Mr.
Fisher,
Chewing,
please.
Mr. Fat, whatever, it's fine.
Mr. Fat?
Mr. Fat, yeah, I'm good
Okay,
with that.
Mr. Fat, continue.
Thank you. I was watching the HW funeral extravaganza, the day, 5 or 6 days event.
A lot, yeah.
And it was all, went off without a hitch, right? It was beautiful. But as I'm watching the 70-mile train ride yesterday from Houston to his final resting place at Texas A&M at the library, I'm thinking, how much is this costing? Yeah. I mean, we sent Air Force One from D.C. to Houston to pick him up. From Houston back to D.C., from D.C. back to Houston, and then we have the train ride. All the vehicles. The day off from federal employees is at least $400 or $500 million, let alone the rest of lost productivity, let alone the cost of the military. We had the plane salute, right? The 21 fighter pilots flying over. I don't know if you know that. Those things don't just fire up for $40 filled up with the tank. And that costs a lot of money for
a
that
great
stuff.
point.
And I'm just wondering, are we paying for all of that?
What do you want to do? Bury him in the backyard like a gerbil? What do you want? what did you want? What did you have in mind for a former president?
I don't.
War hero.
Okay, all right.
Head of the CIA.
I know. And vice president, and president.
Yes.
I know. I got it. And he raised, two governors and a president. I understand. But if you look down the row at the church where you had Donald Trump and his wife and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, are we doing that for Jimmy Carter? Are we doing a 5-day extravaganza for Jimmy Carter like that?
Yeah, they will.
Probably.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
We doing a 5-day extravaganza for Bill?
Bill will get 10.
We'll probably do a 30-day for Barack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's worth 30.
Yes.
But I mean, are we paying for all of that?
Well, did you ever come up with a figure?
Well, they say
all it
at least 500 million.
500 million?
Yeah,
No.
they say at least that. Within
Get out of here.
That's what
Get
the
out of here.
figures say.
That includes what?
Lost productivity from all the employees being off the day of mourning.
Okay.
I don't know if I would count that.
I don't either. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
think
well, they did.
Well, but they're not. But lost productivity as if they're actually working when they're there.
They're adding in the government shutdown numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, but we still have, but aside from that, with Air Force One, all the vehicles both ways, the train, the special, I mean, I just seemed like it was
You think it was
little
too
much.
much?
He was a great man, I got it, I know, it was wonderful.
Well, what is appropriate to you, though?
I don't know, just maybe not 500 million.
Jason, what do you think?
Maybe not 500 million. Jason, of course, is going to be. He's okay. So is Pat.
It's hard
Spend it all.
It's hard to actually know. I'd like to actually see the real breakdown without the government shutdown numbers.
I would too.
Because that'll make a big difference. But I don't know. There's for this guy. I mean, man. I wish we could give every World War II vet the same treatment.
Yes.
I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fine with, I guess. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but opening up the checkbook or whatever for men like President George H.W. Bush.
Okay, but where do you draw? Are you saying men like George H.W. Bush?
Who
So,
says
but what
that?
about
I
a
know.
president that you didn't like? Shouldn't there be a standard protocol that we stick to?
Well, when I say men like him, I just mean men that have served their country. I guess you could put all presidents.
I mean, every president.
Yeah, I don't care about.
But there isn't a boxed protocol for that.
Right.
It's for whatever they think is appropriate at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And I don't know, it just seemed a little over the top.
It's a difficult question because how do you honor
I know.
a president, somebody who's that important to the country, and yeah, I guess you don't want to triple the national debt doing it.
I know.
But that's a hard thing to quantify, isn't it? I don't know where you put that number.
I can guarantee you there are plenty of programs that I would be fine taking money from to put it to
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true.
the George
Yes,
That's
H.W.
true.
Funeral Fund.
If we're actually doing
If we
that,
could.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, if we could.
If we could get the government to shut down on all these funerals, I'm all about that. Anything that gets them working less, I'm all for. All in.
All right, Jason, your top story. Paris.
So Paris has been going through these. I've talked about this a little bit. Glenn's talked about this. You probably have too, Pat. I don't know if have you been talking about this
A little bit. Look, that's that political uprising in France, and you'll obviously cover it a little bit deeper here in a second. But it is fascinating to watch because I've seen them throwing things at their president, hollering at him. We haven't seen that yet. Like that. I'm
fascinated on so many different levels on what's going on there right now. But they've been protesting for they've been rioting for about 3 weeks now. It's been 3 straight weekends.
Streets of cars on fire.
Yeah, they're burning down museums. They're graffiti on some of the things that normally, if you're a Frenchman, you'd be very, very proud of. But they're defacing statues that they normally wouldn't have even gone near before. The Champs de, what's that called? The Arc de Triomphe. They're spray painting that. It's crazy, and all of these they're all saying down with Macron. Macron needs to resign. This is the guy that really, he won the presidency, but it was very fiercely contested between a socialist and a far right candidate, Marine Le Pen. This guy was the very middle of the road. Everyone was scared of the extremes. They're like, okay, well, let's just take this middle of the road guy. But Macron actually backtracked earlier this week and said, "Okay, fine, I'm not doing this this gas tax. You guys win. I'm taking a step back." But they didn't care. They're doubling down. They're like, "Look, there's so many things that we don't like about this guy." He has as of today, an 18% approval rating in France.
Yeah, that's bad.
18%.
Yeah.
So they're double.
You know what it was shortly after he went in?
No.
I'd love a comparison. Okay.
No, I have no idea.
I'd love to see the comparison.
But a lot of this stuff, the media is I think by and large not really reporting it this way. But this is a devastating hit to the climate agenda. I mean, this is absolute rebuke of their climate change.
From a group of people who were seemingly pretty on board with climate change stuff. Then it starts to hit them in the pocketbook, and you see what our problem with this is. What are you willing to give up for this so-called settled science?
They feel like they're starting to see the con in this.
Yes.
So you think about the con just surrounding the fuel tax. So a few years ago, they were basically forced into buying diesel cars. So the government was like, "Look, we can't use we have to use diesel right now because it's it lasts longer, it's better for the environment." So they basically forced everybody into getting these diesel vehicles. So they're like, "Okay, fine." So they turn around just a couple of years later and they tax diesel gasoline. So they're like, "Wait a minute, you forced us into doing this. Now you're punishing us for doing it."
Right.
And the people that that don't have to worry about this are the people that live in the cities like Paris, in rural urban areas. That's where the vast majority of their industry and business is right now. The people in the rural areas they don't have their jobs anymore. Like their factories are closing down. All the progressive taxes that have been hit over how long they've been trending in this direction has decimated those areas. So now they're having to drive. Sometimes I read one interview, she had to drive like 2 hours to get into Paris. That's a lot of gas. So there's no possible way they're going to be able to pay this. But that's how this started. Now it's not about that anymore. It's not about the fuel tax. It's about all those other progressive policies. Actually, what's weird is the people that are going to protest this Saturday, and you can watch this on YouTube. Go to YouTube and they'll have live streams. It's going to be insane. But the people that are protesting this Saturday, listen to the types of groups. There are socialists out protesting, saying they want redistribution of wealth. There's not enough taxes. The taxes are fine. They just need to be put on the wealthy and all this stuff.
Right, because it's all good as long as I don't have to pay for it.
Right. There's the farmers. The biggest farmer union is coming out and saying, "We're joining too because we're getting screwed." The largest trucking union is also protesting, saying they're going to shut down. All these people are meeting together. The conservatives are protesting, taxes and wages and jobs and everything. You have this mix of socialists, anarchists, conservatives, businessmen. Everybody is coming out and they're joining together to protest Macron and the government. I mean, this is probably not going to end well.
No.
This is a monster that has no leadership whatsoever. It still doesn't really have any leadership, but everybody's just joining in, just to join in, to get in on the melee.
And it seemed as though he felt like, okay, we won't do the green tax. Okay, stop it all. We're all good now, aren't we? No.
Yeah, we're like, no, we're still not. France has lost their social contract with their people. I mean, and this is why this is kind of so relevant towards all over the world, is everyone's pretty much saying the same thing nowadays. The GOP voters are like, we're like, wait a minute, you didn't get rid of Obamacare? There's no fiscal accountability whatsoever. The debt's skyrocketing, it's going crazy. Immigration, when are you going to do the things that we voted you in to do?
Thank you.
That France is to that point now. They're to that point now where they're not just complaining about it, they're doing something about it. What happens to the Democratic Party when they don't get single-payer health care? When they don't get open borders, whatever else crazy stuff they want to get? Because they can only go so far in this system. So hopefully they can't pull off some of these things. But what happens when Bernie Sanders doesn't deliver on that, or Ocasio-Cortez? They're going to get to that point as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they will.
America, wake up before it's too late. Back in a minute.
Some of that footage is tremendous.
For those who have not checked it out yet, go to blazetv.com. We have got a whole new lineup since our merge with CRTV. We're super excited about it. A lot of big names coming on board. Mark Levin, Steven Crowder, Gavin McInnes. Again, people that we don't always align with ideologically, but it's so important for us to have a big platform, a big umbrella. I know you've heard Glenn talk about that. And don't forget that we have a special If you go to Blaze TV and you subscribe, you can use the promo code BECKCHRISTMAS to get $20 off. That is BECKCHRISTMAS. Go check it out. It's just amazing the things they've done with it. And we will see you guys in overtime.